How's it going, guys? Alex here, back with another 2-5 No Limit Texas Holdem poker vlog played at the Daytona Beach Racing and Card Club. And today, we've got a very special episode as we only have one goal. And that goal, of course, is nothing else but to make Brad Owen proud. And how are we going to do that? By playing the best hand in the game. That's right, we're going to start this vlog off with the Jiggities Pocket Jacks in late position facing a middle position raise to 15. Now, of course, Jacks, being the best hand in the game, is a mandatory 3-bet if you look at the poker vlog hand chart. So, we 3-bet to 65. Everybody else gets out of the way. That player makes the call. He seems like a relatively competent player and a large stack, so we're pretty excited here. We are heads up in position to a flop in a 3-bet pot as the 3-better with 130 in the middle. You guys are not going to believe this. We see a jack in the window, followed by a 4th jack. That's right, we flop quad jacks. Would you believe it? Share this video as much as you can until Brad Owen sees it so he can witness the beauty that is for McJiggities. Our opponent checks, and I want to play as tricky as possible. I want to let him catch up, so I check back for deception. Heads up to a 4th card that comes in 8, and it also completes the flush draw. So we are really hoping that he has a king that can connect with this board, or maybe a flush. And he picks up where he left off, and he bets 50. Literally a dream spot. Could not ask for a better position to be in. We make the call, planning to go for a big raise on the river. Heading to a river, and that card comes to 7. I mean, it doesn't change anything. Completely irrelevant card. He checks, and we bet 200, trying to get something, trying to make something, make a crying call. He lets it go, but we show our 4 jacks king kicker for the high hand promotion, which ends up holding, believe it or not. Crazy. Actually, the next high hand period, there was quad queen, so we were pretty glad to hit it when we did. So we make an extra $500 later down the road. Brad Owen, if you're watching this, just know I love your content, and I hope I made you proud. Without further ado, let's get into more excitement. Do you want to see me play your favorite hand? Leave it in a comment and I'll give it my best shot. While you're there, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content. I know I'm a little backed up on playing people's favorite hands, but it's hard to pick them up when everything's dealt at random. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alrighty, we're going to time travel just a little bit here. It was a Saturday afternoon we played this session, and they managed to actually have 3 2-5 games running, so this was the only notable hand from the must move. We've got ace-4 of hearts in the big blind, facing a cutoff open to 20, and this player has been super splashy. We make the call, so we're going to go heads up out of position with 40 in the middle to a flop that comes ace-8-6. Pretty good, got top pair. We check to the raiser, who checks back. Planning on betting turn and river for value, as if he didn't bet the flop, I'm putting him on either absolutely nothing or an absolute monster. Turn comes an absolutely excellent card. It's a 4. Now we've got a super disguised 2 pair, and we got to build that pot with our good hands. So we bet 20 for value. Our opponent calls pretty quickly, which is great to see. We're going off to a final card. Now I want you to do something for me. Look at the name of my channel. Now look back at me. Now click that like button and help as we go runner. That's right, the dealer drops another 4. We ran our way into a full house. Thanks, guys, I appreciate it. We go for a polarizing bet size and we bet 60. But unfortunately, our opponent lets it go pretty quick. Like previously noted, this was the only notable hand on the must-move table, so we're going to move into our first main game of the night. Alrighty, first hand that we're going to talk about from our first main game, we look down at ace-queen in the small blind facing a button straddle. I don't really know a lot of the players on this table, so I bump it up to 40 anyway. Let's go. Folds all the way back around to the button straddler, who actually makes the call with not that much behind. They've got less than 100 behind, so we're going heads up out of position with 80 in the middle and less than 100 behind the button, so planning on just pushing most boards that favor me. When that board does come deuce 10, that is certainly a board that favors me. So we're going to push it all in. And he calls very quickly, which I'm really not too excited about, not going to lie. Off to a run out, which actually runs out queen and then a 5. We turn over our top expecting to be good, but he turns over 3-4 of diamonds for a caught flush on the river. So not much we really could have done. I feel like that hand's going to play out either way. We just got unlucky. We're going to play musical chairs one more time and switch over to the other main game, which is a lot more action on it. And you'll see that pretty soon here. Finally, we're on the magic table and we sit down in the big blind for our first hand and look down at pocket 10s facing a button straddle. I know some of these players. I know they're pretty crazy. We're going to bump the action up to $40. We get 2 callers and they consist of an early position player and the button straddler. So we're going 3 ways out of position to a flop with 120 in the middle. It comes pretty good for 10s, comes deuce, 3, 4, rainbow. Really awesome board for 10s here. We're gonna put in that C-bet for $80. Early position player calls, and the button straddler folds. Heads up out of position to a turn now that comes a jack. Now, I almost instinctively check here just because like, oh, jack, overcard to 10s. Okay, time to go into check call mode. But this opens up the door for my opponent to bet 200. Now, it's in spots like these where you really got to be able to step back and just listen to what you know how to do. This is the loosest player on the table, and here's my thought process. Am I ever going to give him credit for a jack here? Probably not. Am I going to give him credit for like a really strong made hand, like the flopped straight, 2 pair, or a set? I'm not thinking so, and here's why. This was a single raised multi-way pot. If he did have one of those strong hands, I think he would be raising it on the flop fairly consistently. When he just calls the flop, I'm putting him on more of the combo draws as he is the loosest player at the table. That being said, I think I am just going to go into check call mode with 10s, but definitely not fold. So looking at this $200 bet again, even though it is a pretty hefty bet, I just take a deep breath, listen to the logic, get my head in the game, and call. My plan for the river is to just go check call as well. So we're off to that card, which comes a king. Like I said before, I don't give him credit for any of the high cards, so I check, just plan to go check call, but it doesn't come to that. He snap checks it back and turns over 4-5 for flop top pair open-ended. Glad to get a good read on the situation and get a good run out against this player. I don't know about you guys, but right now, a huge hole in my game is when I chip up, then I start getting a little bit squirrely, and if I start losing the chips that I've accumulated, it really starts to get to me. This is a prime example of that hand where I've got ace-3 of hearts on the button facing a cutoff raise to 30. We're both pretty deep stacked. He actually covers me after the hands we just talked about that I've won. So we're gonna play some deep stack poker, and we 3-bet to 100. Folds back around to him, and he makes the call. So we're gonna go heads up in position as a 3-better with 200 in the middle to a board. It comes king 10-9. When the cutoff checks, this should generally be a pretty good c-bet spot, but here's the problem. Personally, I don't really have a ton of experience in 3-bet pots with the suited wheel aces, and one thing that I'm kind of starting to realize is that when you 3-bet these wheel aces, you're doing so as a bluff, and they should be played that way. When you get a board like king 10-9, I don't really know how often the c-bet percentage should be, especially when we don't even have a heart out there for backdoor hearts. Not really knowing what to do, I kind of just default to do when I don't know what to do and check. We're gonna get a free turn card and the dealer drops another 9. It's actually a fairly decent card, blocks a lot of the hands our opponent could have that did smash the flop. Blocks hands like king 9, 9-10, pocket 9s, and ace 9. I think this is generally gonna be a better card for us than him, so I do think it's a good idea to start betting. However, my sizing here as played was absolutely abysmal. I'm not even gonna try to justify this $60 bet. It doesn't make any sense. I kind of just panicked because I figured I did have to bet because ace-3 wasn't gonna win at showdown, but can't wait to hear about this one from you guys. So, of course, cutoff makes the call. We're gonna see the last card here and the dealer drops a 6, doesn't really change the board at all. Cutoff checks, and because I played the hand so poorly already, I figure that if I do try to steal it on the river, he's gonna be more incentivized to call me down light, so I kind of just give up and check. He shows ace-queen for ace-queen high, and I really must have been out of it because I show my hand thinking for half a second that we're chopping, which is not true, and he's going to scoop this 3-bet pot. So certainly not proud of it. It's one of the more disappointing hands that I've played lately. It could have been a really awesome, cool, dynamic hand to talk about if played more optimally, but you know, make mistakes, live and learn. I'm here to tell the tale. Alrighty guys, for the last interesting, really weird hand we're going to talk about, we find ourselves in the big blind with pocket 7s facing 4 limps and a small blind squeeze to 35. Now this is already really tricky, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't like folding pocket pairs pre-flop, okay? So I don't like the idea of folding. However, I don't like the idea of calling with 4 people left to go behind us. That doesn't seem very good either. And I don't like the idea of 3-betting a hand like pocket 7, so don't like any of our options here. Let me know what you guys would do in the comments. As played, I decided to just make the call, and everybody else in the hand also makes the call. So we're gonna go 6 ways to an absolutely bloated pot with 2-10 in the middle to a flop that comes 5-6 deuce. Not bad. We've still got an overpair with 7s. The pre-flop progressor decides he's gonna slow down and he's gonna check. I check, but the player to my left disagrees with that ideology, and he leads into the field for 30, which I don't know what to make of this bet. 30 into 210, 1/7 pot. I have no idea what to make of this. There's one call and it folds back to me. Closing the action with an overpair, I think that's perfectly reasonable, so I decided to make the call. The pot's getting bigger and the field is getting thinner. 3 ways out of position to a turn now, which comes the 9 of spades. I think that's a pretty good card. We've now got a bunch of extra equity with an inside straight draw, a flush draw to go along with our pair. We check to the player who bet on the flop, and he bets again for 75. The other player in between me and him folds, and now it's back to me. And here's where this hand gets really interesting, okay? From my perspective, if he's going to bet the flop into 5 other people, that's gotta be value, right? That's gotta be either the flop straight, a set, or 2 pair. If that's true, if that's the range I'm putting him on, I think a 7 high flush on the river could be good, because all of these combos are never going to contain flush cards that beat a 7. Another thing to note too is that 75 into this pot is still pretty cheap. You know, it sucks that we're out of position and we're gonna have to check river, but he's got about 200 behind, so we could win a good amount of money, and a lot of our outs could actually be good, so we're drawing closer to our raw equity. With all those things in mind, I decided to make the call, and we're going heads up to a river. That river comes a pretty bad card. It's a deuce. Now, nothing has really gotten there. His range is, you know, just gonna beat ours most of the time. We checked our opponent, and he does indeed rip his stack in there for 200. Don't think there's a lot I can do. We pretty much lose to all of his value hands, so we make the fold, and he tells us later that he did indeed have pocket 5s for a flopped set and a river full house. We rack up not too much longer after that. We head on out of there. Alrighty guys, that's gonna just about do it for today. We were into the game for $1,000, out of the game for $1,550. Pretty good, booking a win of $550 over the course of about 4 hours of play, which comes out to $138 per hour, or 28 big blinds per hour. How's it going, guys? Just walked around Gemini Springs Park for a little bit near Orange City. That's actually where the Orange City Racing and Card Club room is, so if you guys watch Kyle Fischel, you know exactly where I'm talking about. Make sure you go subscribe to him too. He's a pretty cool guy. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, at Gemini Springs Park. Just remember, you are a fantastic human being, and you can do it, whatever you're struggling with. I know you can do it. Keep your body healthy, keep your mind healthy. This is Runner Runner Poker. Have a good one. Wait, there's an oak tree area? That sounds awesome. All right, if this video gets 100 likes, I'll come back here to film in the oak tree area.